Hello, I'm Cheryl and welcome to my sewing room. I'm going to demonstrate how to put a border on a Christmas panel piece of fabric. Now, if you're not sure what it is one large picture printed on a piece of fabric that is easily used in the middle of a big quilt, or it can even be a wall hanging. So let's look at some samples of Christmas panel quilts that I've put together in the past. Now, I can't remember how long ago this one was, but I'm going to say 15 years ago, so you can't find this if you're looking for it right now. I loved this because I didn't even put a border on it. I thought it looked great just all on its own. So I just put the fabric on the back, the cotton batting, and all of the stitching was I stitched it around all of these designs in here, including all of the leaves and the squares. And it gave it some dimension and just made the design pop even more. And I used this to hang on the wall during Christmas. All right, let me show you another one I did also many years ago. This was probably 10, 12 years ago. So here's another one. What I did on this one is I added the green and this purple poinsettia fabric, okay? Part of the problem with this panel, and you'll often find it with any panel you buy, is they gave me very little fabric on the edge here to use in the seam. That's why this green is so close to the design. But what was appealing to me about this panel is I love to cross stitch, and this panel had little X's everywhere on it. So it gave me an opportunity to rip out my cross stitch floss, and I did cross stitch all over it. There's hundreds and hundreds of cross stitches all over it. And again, I hung this on my wall during the holiday season. So let me show you the one that I'm going to work on today. This is one I purchased just recently, okay? Isn't this cool? This one I made into a lap quilt. I'm not going to hang on the wall. It's a lap quilt for my daughter at Christmas time. And I can already tell her it's her Christmas present because she never watches my videos. So you all know what she's getting for Christmas. All I added on this was this green border here and the squares in each corner. So I didn't need to add anything else. But I want you to come in and look closely at the red around here. On this particular panel, this strip here was pretty even all over, but I wanted it to be equal on all four sides. So I measured it. Whichever side was the smallest is what I cut it down to. So let me show you a panel so you can get an understanding of what I mean. Look at this corner here. At each end, this is 1.5 inches. And on each side, on the other two sides, it was about 3/4 of an inch. So I measured the two sides again to see which one was the narrowest. So I'm now going to trim all of the sides to equal whichever is the narrowest side. So if this is 3/4, I need to cut this down to 3/4. Okay, so putting all of this aside, let me show you the panel. So what I did was, because I wanted this to be 2 inches, because the narrowest point was 2 inches. So I want to place my 2-inch marker on this line right here. So place it on there, and then anything that is hanging out past that 2-inch, you're going to trim off with your rotary cutter. And I really advise you to use one of these long 24-inch rulers. So I went around to all 4 edges and made sure all 4 sides was 2 inches. Now, how you're going to cut your border fabric. So let me pull this out. Now, I've already put the border fabric on some of the sides on this. First, you want to determine just how wide you want your border. You can make it 2 inches, 10 inches. I chose 8.5 for this particular one because I wanted to make the quilt large enough to be a lap quilt. If you wanted this to be a wall hanging, I advise you wouldn't put anything larger than maybe 2.5, 3.5 inches. All right, so how you're going to do this is you're going to measure from the end here all the way over to the other end and take that length and then add 1 inch. So let's say this was 40 inches. I'm going to cut it 41 inches. All right. Now take the 2 pieces and you're going to put it on opposite sides. And oh, by the way, if I didn't mention this, you're going to take the 2 longest edges first and then put the border fabric on it. So this was not a perfect square, it was actually a rectangle. So 2 sides were shorter or narrower than the other 2. So I'm going to take the longest ends and I'm going to put the border on that first. So after you've measured and cut, you added your inch. Don't forget to add that inch. You're going to take that fabric and put it face down on top of your panel fabric. Then make sure you have fabric extending past each end. You're going to trim that off in a moment, but right now make sure you have a little bit extending past each end. Then go ahead and pin it down and stitch 1/4 inch from this raw edge all the way down the full length of the strip. Then press it on the back side and then unfold it and press on top, making sure that this seam goes towards this green border fabric. Okay, so you've got it all pressed out. Now, take your large 24-inch ruler again. Place that 2-inch marker on the edge of this red right here. Okay, line it up, and then anything that is sticking out over here, you're going to trim it off and then go to the other end and do the same thing. So you're putting this border fabric on opposite sides of each other on the 2 longest edges. Okay, so now you need to go to the other 2 ends and you're going to take 1 end at a time and measure it. But you're going to measure again from the edge right here. Okay, right here at this corner. You're not including the border fabric. You're measuring this edge all the way down to this edge here. Okay? Remember, don't include the border fabric. And then cut your fabric that length. Don't add anything to it. So now you've got your border fabric cut, and you want to get your squares put on. So before you attach that border fabric, you need to put your squares on. So right now I've just got 1 piece of fabric in there, but you have other options. You could do a 4-patch in that corner if you want, on all your corners. If you don't know how to do a 4-patch, there's a link appearing right about now in the upper right hand corner that will take you to a tutorial so you can learn how to do this 4-patch. It's not hard at all. It's pretty quick to make this. Okay, so whatever you decide to do in that corner, on all 4 corners, you're going to go ahead and bring right sides together, top sides of the fabric together. Stitch it down 1/4 inch on this end. Then press it with your iron. Unfold it and press on top, and you're going to push this seam towards the border fabric. Okay? And you're going to do it at both ends of this border strip. Now you want to take that border strip and bring it face down on top. The first thing you want to line up are your 2 seams. So you want to get them in real close to where they match. They're right next to each other. Now the one on the bottom is going towards my left, and the one on top is going towards my right. So take a pin, here they are, and put a pin there to hold it. Then go over to the other seam down here, line it up, and then place a pin there also. Then continue lining up your edges and place pins all along that edge. Then you're going to start in one corner and begin stitching a 1/4 inch seam from this raw edge in. Stitch all the way across to the other side. Now you need to go to the other edge that is not done and do the same thing. Okay, now this one is already on, so you can see what it looks like. Now the reason why you want to measure the other edge separately is it might be slightly off from the end you just did. So always measure that one too. So when you're done, this is what it looks like. Okay, now if you've never made a quilt and you have no idea how to finish it off, at the very end of the video you can click on a link that'll be in the upper right hand corner that will take you through the steps to finish this quilt off. It'll show you how to get your fabric ready for the back, how to layer the quilt with your cotton batting, how to do your top stitching, and then how to put the binding on it. Okay, so let me show you one more look at this quilt because I just love it. All right, let me straighten it out one more time. Now, if you want to know where to get panels like this, your best place is on the internet. So log into the internet, enter quilt fabric, and then click on one of the links to a fabric store online. Then in their search window, enter the word panels, and all kinds will pop up. Some of them really, really pretty, and some of them kind of folksy like this. I like the folksy ones the best. I think they're the most fun. Okay, now to keep informed on all my future videos, click on one of my subscribe buttons. There's one down there in that lower right hand corner. It's red, it says subscribe. And then there's one in the upper left hand corner, round picture of my face. Okay, click on either one of those. Then YouTube will prompt you for your email address. Enter that information, and the next time I have a new video, YouTube will send you a brief email with a big button in the center. You click on it and it takes you directly to my latest video. I'm Cheryl. I'm really glad you came to my sewing room, and I'll see you next time, and happy sewing.